Unmute yourself, Irma. Okay. All right, you're in charge.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we had some glitches, but it looks like everything's going okay.
Great. Great.
I think just spotlight Irma and we're all set to go.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'll spotlight you here. Okay, how's that?
Great.
Okay.
There I am.
Okay, it's all yours.
Great. Well, good morning, and welcome to the Albuquerque Folk Festival online this year, as many other festivals are at this time. My name is Irma Reeder, and I'm so happy to be here again this year promoting mountain dulcimers. If we were in person, you'd all be sitting around and I would have put dulcimers on your laps. So this year will be a little bit different, but I'm going to explain the history. I'm going to talk about different styles of playing, show you different dulcimers, as well as showing you a little bit about tablature and one of the easiest ways of learning to play the dulcimer. So as we get started, I just wanted to remind people that if you have questions, make sure you raise your hand, and that should get us where we want to go. So, dulcimers, wonderful little instruments. The mountain dulcimer, as we see it today, is a relatively new, truly American instrument. There may be similar instruments in other cultures, but the American mountain dulcimer was born deep in the Appalachian Mountains by those who came from the British Isles to settle in a new land. They wanted to play the music they loved, so they built these little instruments from whatever wood was available, music to remind them of their native homes. Dulcimers were originally built with the fret wire, as you see here, only on the melody string, so that the middle and bass strings were only used as drones. Perhaps in this small way, it was reminiscent of those bagpipes that they left back in their native home. I'm going to show you just a little bit. Now I'm going to be going back and forth between different camera angles so that you can see this. So as I'm looking at my dulcimer here, this is no extra bells and whistles. A lot of people now have extra frets, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But this is what it would have originally sounded like. With those drones, it's a very ethereal sort of sound. I'm going to pop this back up for a minute. So fast forward to the early 60s, when the mountain dulcimer was brought to the forefront of the folk music scene by Jean Ritchie. Others would follow her, others that fell in love with this enchanting and haunting little instrument. So one thing I want to show you on this is that originally this instrument did not have one of these frets. This is the scale that you had. So it has a very unique sound. And you'll see that on mine, the fret bar is going all the way across. And so that allowed us later on to play chords. The other thing too is you'll see that there are the wider frets and the smaller frets. These, if you read music or are familiar with reading music, these are whole steps and half steps. The dulcimer is a diatonic instrument. It's built on a scale. So, in other words, it's not chromatic and we don't have all the notes. So we have to be a little bit more creative with how we're going to play this instrument. Over the years, the instrument has evolved from the traditional drone, because just like those early immigrants, people today want to play the music they love. And those early models of the dulcimer did not allow for contemporary music. So frets were added to allow more notes so that they could play contemporary music, pop music, jazz, whatever they wanted to play. Also, those fret bars going all the way across means that we can now play chords. And I'm going to switch instruments here. This is a McSpadden dulcimer. It's out of walnut, and it has a few extra strings, a few extra frets, I mean. It gives me a little bit more ability to play in different chords and keys that are happy with other instruments. For instance, playing in the key of C, which is a very guitar-friendly key, we wouldn't be able to do it on a traditional dulcimer, but we can when we add another fret. So I'm going to turn this down so you can see what I'm doing. So there are a lot of playing styles, and I'm just going to show you a few of them. So originally, again, you had this dronal style. So, for instance, Old Joe Clark. So that's played with just the drones, and the melody is only played on the melody string. So here is another example of the same song, but adding in those chords that will utilize those other two strings. So being able to play those chords adds a completely different flavor to the music that you're doing on the dulcimer. It becomes a lot more guitar-like. So we have flat picking and finger picking. So on the 3-string, you'll note that this instrument has 3 strings. Sometimes the melody string is the double that you play as one, but it's a double string. If I'm going to flat pick instead of finger picking or just strumming, I'm going to do a little bit of a fiddle tune called June Apple. That's flat picking. Now, if I wanted to finger pick, this provides a very quiet, soft tone of voice that is very typical with the dulcimer. And so here's a little bit of September on the Mississippi. But you see that creates a completely different sound than when we're strumming away. Different songs and different styles call for a different flavor, if you will, for the dulcimer, just like any other instrument you would be playing. Now I'm going to show you a style that I am particularly fond of, and that is a 4 equidistant. So I'm going to switch out here. Switch my bug so you can hear me. Now you'll notice with this, again, when you buy an instrument, this melody string, I don't know how clearly you can see that, is sometimes a double string Well, what I've done is I've taken those 4 strings and they are now equally spaced. And so with the 4 strings, you can either strum or finger pick. This first one, I'm going to do a combination flat picking strumming song called Shady Grove. And this is a fun tune. So that's great fun to play, but that gives you what the instrument would sound like if you're strumming on these 4 strings. So I'm going to show you another one here. There's also a tradition with the dulcimer for singing with it. And this is an old Arkansas Ozark tune that I heard for the first time when I was about 8 or 9. Joan Baez sang this song, recorded it, and it's called Lady Mary. But this is going to show you both using the dulcimer as an accompaniment for singing, but also finger picking this 4 equidistant style. So here we go with a little bit of this song. I'm not going to sing the whole thing because it would take 5 minutes and all of our time would be gone. He came from his palace grand. He came from my cottage door. His words were few, but his look would linger forevermore. The look in his sad dark eyes, more tender than words could be. But I was nothing to him, and he was the world to me. So a little bit of Lady Mary there. I just love that song. So there's just 4 different ways to play. There are many, many ways that we can go about this. But how would we start learning about the dulcimer, how would we start playing this? Now I'm going to go up to share screen with you. And this is going to give you a handout. This handout is available to you on the website. You can print it out if you are interested. It gives you some history of the dulcimer, as well as some tablature, some resources, all kinds of things of that nature that are going to be helpful if you decide you want to learn. We aren't going to go through all of these first pages that talk about the introduction, the history, some of the different types of dulcimers. I'm going to show you some later. And we're going to come back to this resources page in just a minute. But if we're thinking about the dulcimer, then what we want to do is remember those frets. I'm going to switch back over here to one. So that you can hear, if you're looking at the screen, you can also hear what I'm doing with this. This is a very simple chord chart that talks about how you would make chords on the dulcimer. And the key is this. When you see these three numbers lined up, what do the numbers mean? First of all, the three numbers are in a sequence. And so you have your bass string, your middle, and your melody. So that when you look at the chord chart, for instance, if we were to look at, let me get this here, this D chord. Well, first of all, that's the easiest one. That one's just open, right? So this next one is going to have us put our finger on the melody string on the second fret. So it's going to sound like that. And so then, if we were to go, for instance, that's your D chord, if we wanted to go to a G chord, we have 0 on the bass string, we have 1 on the middle, and we have 3 on the melody string. So I have 0 on the bass, 1 on the middle, 3 on the melody. So the whole point of the tablature, I'm looking at this message that keeps coming up, Steph and Stephen. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, but I'm going to try to move it so I can get to what I'm trying to get at here. If we go down to this, we will see a song, Boil Them Cabbage. I'm not sure why all folk instruments, that's one of the first songs you have to learn is Boil Them Cabbage. And I don't know about you, but boiled cabbage is not one of my favorite things. But this is a fun little song. So as you look at this, you will see that you have numbers, we have numbers on the melody string. So this is the melody, that's the bass, that's the middle. So when we're playing Boil Them Cabbage, we have 4 2s, which would be, and then we would have a 3. So I'm moving my finger up to the 3rd fret on the melody string. Then I'm going to move it back to the 2nd fret, down to the 1st fret. Second line, I'm going back up to the 2nd fret on the melody string, up to the 3rd, 2nd. So the melodies tell you again what fret, what string. And so without having to be able to read notes, you can find where you're supposed to be on your dulcimer. It's an easy, nice, easy way to do that. It's a lot of fun to do it that way. We aren't like the people back east that this has been in their family heritage for generations and we all learn these songs by ear. Here we have to do it a little bit differently. So we have a few minutes left, and really quickly I want to go up to the first part of this this handout that shows you resources. And you can see there that there are places where you can find out more about builders. You can find out about different players' websites. You can find out on YouTube, this is a lot of fun, to go in and see different people play in different manners. That's the greatest way to learn. So now, what I'm going to do, we just have a few minutes. I just wanted to reiterate some things about the mountain dulcimer. First of all, as I'm going to get rid of this share screen so you can see what I'm doing. And there it goes. So, false information about the mountain dulcimer is that you're tuned to DAD so you can only play in the key of D. That's just wrong. When I'm tuned to DAD, I can play easily in 3 keys. If I'm just playing in chords, I can play more. I can also learn how to retune the dulcimer to play all the keys that I can't tune to DAD. So if you're ever in a jam and someone says, oh no, it's a dulcimer, we have to play in D, you can say, no, we don't have to play in D. And so, but really quick, I wanted to show you, look at this. There's all kinds of different dulcimers out there. This big guy is called a baritone. Is that not the most wonderful sound? It's so rich. And I use this one a lot when I am singing lower songs. You see I have it tuned to the 4 equidistant strings. Wonderful sound on the baritone. There are bass dulcimers, soprano dulcimers. Oh, and look at this. You know, I was talking about not having all the notes. This is a chromatic dulcimer, and it has all the notes. And so I can play a lot of different styles of music using this instrument because I have so many more notes at my fingertips. And then the last one I have, this one is too funny. This is called a band jammer. And you get this little drum. I've got gut strings. It is also chromatic, and you can play it more of a banjo sound. But again, this is obviously not something you would play on a ballad like Lady Mary, but it's great fun on fiddle tunes. So I know we had a lot less time this year than we normally do, and that we've gone flying through all this information. I want you to know this, that if you were interested in the dulcimer and you would like more information, on that handout is my contact information. You have my phone number, you have my website, and you can contact me. And if you were at this workshop today here at the Albuquerque Folk Fest, I'll give you a free personal lesson, private lesson, and we can go over any questions you have or get you started, and you can decide whether or not the mountain dulcimer is something you'd like to start. And just one more note on that resource page, there's a list of dulcimer festivals in our area, including the New Mexico Dulcimer Festival that takes place in October. And we have a website that's on the information page. And so you can check in and see what's happening. Are we online this year? Maybe so. Can't tell at this point. But anyway, the dulcimer is such a wonderful instrument. I would encourage you to take some time and see what you think about this little antique oddity that is just as relevant today as it was a couple of 100 years ago. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to hear from you. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Irma.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Great presentation.